Hello, Attactioneers. I'm your host, Taylor Morrow.
Oh, and I'm your other host, Colin Honigman.
Nice.
Welcome to the Attack Action Podcast.
All right. You nailed it.
Thank you.
Great job. So if you
Can I put my shirt back on?
No.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, totally. Helps me focus, looking at you shirtless. If you've noticed, Isaac's not here. And that's because in our last reaction step, Colin gave Isaac the plague, and he's suffering from too much blood rot and frailty to podcast with us today.
Spreading plague is OP. That's topical.
Nailing it. Perfect. All right, you can take your pants off now too.
Sign up for our Patreon. Behind the scenes. All right.
Yeah, so today, episode 62, I think. Okay, hi. Yeah, this is Taylor editing the podcast, and it is certainly episode 63, not episode 62. So, 63, not 62. Okay, back to the show. We're going to be talking about our experiences with Outsiders pre-release. But before we get into that, Colin, you've listened to the podcast. Usually me and Isaac bullshit for a few minutes. So I'm going to bullshit with you. What's up in your life? I hear you have a new dresser. Tell us all about it.
All right. So apparently Pottery Barn sells stuff, right? But they have like a teen website that has stuff that's actually kind of better. And then they have the same stuff on their kids' website, but if you buy it from the teen website, it's cheaper, slightly.
And how many hours of work did you waste figuring this out?
Enough.
No comment, just in case somebody from my company listens.
No, Jess does a lot of our research. She's very good at shopping online and finding the good deals and comparing things. But we also had a very specific space that it had to fit in, and it had to be bigger than the one we had, but also fit in the same exact space. So that was a tall order that we'd been working on for a while. So we got that delivered this morning. I have not put my clothes in it yet, so that's also cool. They're just hanging around in laundry baskets. What else? I'm going to do it. I'm going to finish organizing Dynasty before Friday so I can make a mess of my room again with Outsiders.
I thought I had an extra binder for Outsiders, and then I was like, oh shit, I don't. Maybe I have room in one of these other ones. I don't. And then I found 2 just boxes of bulk cards from Dynasty and was like, oh crap. So I have some homework this week as well to prepare for the card Christmas that is all in our future this coming weekend.
I'm like 80% of the way through reorganizing all of my cards, keeping only like a certain amount of each, of every card, basically. I mean, not every card, not like I don't have like 8 Majestics, CNCs or something, but like for commons and rares, it's like I have like 8 or 10 of each. So it's like if they go in multiple decks, I have enough to support that, and I'm not like swapping cards out. And I used to do binders and then spill over bulk into boxes. But then every time I look in the binder, they would be gone. And then I have to go to the boxes. And I was just like, this system does not work because it takes too long to find everything. So I'm almost all the way of organizing. I'm on Wizard now. I think that's one of my last classes where I have to like organize all the new organize the new cards and then reduce the number of copies of other cards. And then I have to like undo all my binders, but I'm going to keep the Majestics and stuff in the binders, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And then I'm contemplating, because I was going to say a bad person, but just because I can't help myself, trying to do like master sets or something where you have like one of every card. Maybe not like actual master sets where you have the cold foils and rainbow foils of every
Mm-hmm.
version of everything, but like just like
Apprentice sets.
yeah, exactly. A journeyman
Yeah.
set of just like,
Yeah.
one cop, maybe rainbow foil of everything except like legendaries and shit. Just have that, in binders to look at for fun. But we'll see. It's a constant thing. I still just have cards stacked all over my desk, that other desk over there, and then there's just shit everywhere. So we'll see if we get there by Friday.
Totally. This would be a good poll to just like know how many card players have perfect organizational systems and that sort of thing, like where they are able to just one set comes in, it gets put away, it's all working, and then the next set, you know, comes in and there's no hiccups and there's like no mess. I would
Yeah.
really like to know who can freaking do that.
Yeah, who's the Mary Kondo of TCGs? That's who I want to meet, and that's who I want to follow. That's who I want to talk to, and maybe just watch them be more organized than me and never get there. But I'm always curious. Everyone has their preference. There's no right way to do it, but
Yeah.
for me, it was like it just kept happening. I was like, I look in the binder, card I want isn't there. Okay, great. Now I got to go to the boxes. I was like, this is a 2-step process that could just be 1 step. So maybe we should work on that.
Yeah.
But
I don't really ever have more than 2 CC decks like in paper. So it's never really been an issue, but like the problem is then like I have it's right here. This is a deck box of like Oldham cards. Right, I put it together right before the BNR, and then now I'm like, well, fuck this. I'm not putting this away, not yet. So I need to put that away, and then over here, which you can't see off camera, is another deck box with my Viscerai deck. That's all fucking mishmashed around, and that also probably needs to go away. Although maybe not, but that's for a later podcast. So
nice.
Anyway, it's chaos over here at 7th River Orchard, which is what I call my house.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of which, how are you? There's been a lot of weather events.
Oh, totally. So
on top
biggest
of life events.
Yeah, biggest flood happened in the 4 years we've owned the place. Also, happy house owning anniversary to me this month of March.
Hey, happy birthday, house.
Thank you. Also, happy birthday to my wife. Happy International Women's Day, which is the same day. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah,
which
next
is
week, right?
Next week. So just a big month. So anyway, the flood was severe. Didn't get into the house or damage anything, but it was scary because it kept rising the whole day, and it was probably like 3.5, 4 feet deep at its like deepest points. So,
wild.
Yeah, it was nuts. I was posting. The Discord doesn't let you upload videos and shit unless you're Nitro. So I just had to have like smaller pictures, but I think I captured the essence of it all. So
it was seeing it rise. If like I came in later and I was just seeing the progression very quickly, and it was like, holy crap! Like,
yeah,
dude in a truck trying to forge that river. Then there was people just boating in it, and then it was coming up your driveway, and like your house is like raised up too. So I feel like obviously whoever made it was like, yes, it floods sometimes. So like, it was built for that. And then your gulch was all like gulchy, river gulchy.
It was crazy. It was so loud.
Really?
It was like a full on. So there's a gulch, right? I own a gulch, which is pretty cool. Widow's Gulch. Yeah.
Baller. Widow's Gulch. Baller.
Yeah, totally. I mean, do you really own the land though? Anyway,
Legally, yes.
spiritually, maybe not.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the gulch because I'm like, what's going on in the gulch? And it has a culvert at the end of it that's supposed to drain under the road, but it was so flooded right there that it was running over the top of the road. So it was like a rushing river on top of the rushing river, basically. It was very cool to be in the gulch rainforest while that was happening. And that was during the happy times when you're like, wow, this flood's crazy, right? And then like 3 hours later, you're like, it's still going up. This is scary.
And you're like, wow, cool. They're like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. So we made it through. It didn't get in the house. It still needed several feet to get there. So it was totally fine.
Nice.
But just nervous. I just had like a booze midday and then like lifted some weights to get rid of some anxiety. And then I felt like way better. And then it stopped going up and it went down a little bit. And I was like, sweet, I can go to bed and not freaking wake up and like have to go pee in the middle of the night and be like, there's water all over the floor. Great.
How long did it take to like recede back into the actual river?
It took about, and it probably took 24 hours for the road to completely clear, but for it to be drivable like the next day, kind of early afternoon, you could drive through it with like a smaller sedan. You could get through with a truck kind of earlier in the morning. So
nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Just having all the weather out here in California this year.
Hell yeah. Speaking of weather, the pits, they don't have a lot of different weather because they're underground of metrics.
It rains blood.
It rains blood and it's dank and dark. So let's get into some podcast stuff now. So usually we would go into the news, but guess what? There's no news. So blammo, shout outs, Colin.
All right. I got a couple locals only shout outs. Just some things I've been thinking about, noticing. First one up, Evan Bridges, our local game store, flesh and blood coordinator, promoter, all around good guy, head judge at events and shit. I just feel like things have gotten cooler for us over there at Odyssey. We've been getting prize packs. We've been getting gift card store credit for winning. And the store is actually going to have boxes of Outsiders, more than just like 2 that then sell out and then they have no product. They're going to open boxes and sell singles. I'm just like, thank you for acknowledging us as players and taking care of us. And, I appreciate it. So shout out to Evan, friend of the show, and me. And then also, from Odyssey, newer player, not new, but new-ish. Chris, great guy. Just love playing against him. I've been playing against him a lot lately. He usually plays Dromai, but we played against each other at the pre-release. Just a pleasure to play against and talk to. So shout out to Chris. I know he listens to the show, so just want to say hey. So yeah, those are my locals only shout outs.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Shout out to Hella Battle Bros from the Discord that won their pre-releases. Shout out to Peyton winning on Arachne. Shout out to Hayden, the true Australian Hayden, winning on Azalea, which is pretty sick. Shout out to Jesse, winning with Riptide. He's the Talishar Lexi guy. Maybe he's going to be the
Lexi guy, yeah.
The Talishar Riptide guy from now on. Who knows? Shout out to Zane, winning in the most baller way. Took like a bullet speed train he's in Japan right now, which I didn't know. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm going to try to get into a pre-release in Osaka," and then he did, and then he just like pitch stacked Riptide for freaking the win on a bunch of Japanese noobs, maybe. So
Yeah. What up, nerds? This is how we do it in
yeah,
San
totally.
Diego.
Bam, bam, bam. So great move, Zane. I mean, we all know you flew to Japan just so you could win a pre-release. So expensive clout you paid for. And then shout out to Thor Mike, who won on Azuri. So awesome job, everybody.
That's
shout out to Gunner, who won our local pre-release.
Nice.
Even though there was like 4 people had the exact same record, but he just won on breakers, which was pretty weird. So anyway.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I was just going to say that's like a solid percentage of our Patreon, Discord, Battle Bro.
No way. We have thousands of patrons, and this was a tiny, tiny percentage.
No, dude. It's a small elite group of people who hang out with us, and they get better at the game. Or they were good, and they also hang out with us. Or, some mixture of both. It was just cool. It was just rolling in. It was like, everyone, I did. I mean, it felt like that. I mean, people were memeing about it on the weekend. It was just like, looks like everyone went undefeated at their pre-release. But it's just the people posting about it. But it was very funny.
It was funny, but great job, everybody. That's freaking awesome.
Hell yeah.
Got some real freaking crushers and some real nice people. So #join our patron. Announcements. So for me, I don't think I'm going to do so. It's a double announcement. One, if you've not been following my Azuri journey on Saturday mornings, I've been streaming live all of my Azuri games. I've been kind of testing, and you get to see the evolution of the deck and me as a player playing that. So that's been really fun. But I will not be, and that's usually right around 9-ish West Coast California time. And I don't think I'm going to stream this weekend because it is re-release. Release. And I'm going to be gearing up for my own all day of drafting, and so are everybody else. So we're not going to do it, but the Saturday after that we'll be there. So check out the stream. It's pretty fun.
Hell yeah.
Also in announcements. Okay. I'm getting real with everybody in the listenership. Y'all have not been sending in your voice memo questions for me to play on the podcast and for us to answer live. So get your phone out, go to your voice memo app, pause this podcast, and then now you're back and you've recorded your question, and now you email it to us at the attackactionpodcast@gmail.com, and then you'll get your 30 seconds of fame. So it's a perfect time, new set, lots of questions. Shoot them over to us. We're really happy about that. So do it. Stop slacking.
It can even be not related to Outsiders, like tips on mustache care. Like, I mean, just updates on my dog. Whatever you want, just ask us a question.
Totally.
So yeah, I can't wait for those. I've been meaning to look into seeing if we can just set up a phone number, because I also think that's funny if someone could just call in.
Yeah, that is cool.
But we'll look in that. If someone sends in one voice memo, we'll set up an actual number you can call. Maybe
we'll just get a burner phone.
Yeah. I'll get a flip phone. I'll get a flip phone from Mitch, and then I'll just play it from the phone into the microphone. It'll be that kind of quality. It's gonna be awesome.
Shout out to Mitch, who just broke his last flip phone to then get a new flip phone. Sick.
He's a man of strong convictions. All right, next announcement. If you haven't heard, we now have a Patreon exclusive podcast monthly called the Time Snap Cast or something like that. Time Snap podcast. It's Time Snap. We get an extra action point and we talk about whatever the hell we want to. So if you don't skip the first part of the podcast because you like it, you'll get more of that in the Time Snap.
Hell yeah.
So check it out. The last one I did where I went insane in real time trying to explain the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I think I broke myself several times in the process, but somehow came out feeling pretty good about it after I was reassured by my co-host that it was fine.
And I did a time snap on a run of what's his name? Thor, the god of thunder. So I did
not Thor, Mike, our patron.
I know. That's what I was trying not to say. So yeah, Thor, Marvel character, beloved hero of Asgard. I did a run of comics in 2012. Talked about those that I was reading. So that was super fun. And then Isaac, once he's cured of plague or whatever needs to happen, maybe he grows another head. I'm not sure. But he'll be up on the next Time Snap, and I look forward to what he has to say. So
yeah, if he gets any pit pimples, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll post him on our OnlyFans. Last announcement. This is the big one. Okay, this is a brand new segment cooked up by yours truly, me and Colin. Also, we stole it from shout out to Get Played, the premier video game podcast. It's very good. Go listen to that. But we're doing a We Build, You Build for the month of April. So how this is going to work is we're all going to collectively build the same deck for this. Excuse me, not the same deck, but we're going to build a deck for the same hero, and we're going to play it for the month of April. And then we're going to come back at the end of the month, me and Colin, and we're going to talk about our experience, and we're going to field your questions or comments about what you did in your experiences as well. You, as in the listener. So we're going to have a new channel in the Discord for discussion and posting deck lists and that sort of thing. So once this podcast is live, so will that channel be. So again, get into the Patreon, gets you into the Discord. Colin, what format and hero are we going to do this We Build, You Build segment on?
All right. Throwing a curveball, but not really because it's landing right on skirmish season. It's Blitz, baby. Ooh. We're going back to Blitz, back to basics, back to early Fab when we had nothing but Blitz to play for online events. But what are we going to play? Arachne Solitary Confinement.
Nailed it.
In our notes, it says ACS, and I was like, wait, is it Confinement Solitary?
Oh, yeah, my bad.
No, it's all good. Arachne, we went with Arachne, the Blitz-only assassin, because we thought that was fun. It's like a little something new, special. Taylor's been digging into Uzuri. I think I'm also going to be exploring Uzuri. So we thought it'd be fun to switch it up. Check out ASC. He's bringing that, real, just murderous loner vibe that everybody loves at parties. And, he's stealthing in with Go Again. And then, I don't know. He seems pretty cool. So yeah, join us this month. Build an ASC in Blitz, and we're going to take it to our skirmishes if we can, or if they are Blitz. I think, it's a mixed bag this year, so we'll see. But yeah, it's my goal to get to at least one skirmish playing Blitz, which I'm actually excited about now because we're all doing this together.
Yeah, totally. And if you can't make it to a skirmish, that's okay. You can play it on Talishar, kitchen table, armories, just theorycraft, whatever.
Yeah. Or
However
you
you
just
want to
say it
engage.
sucks and move on. That's fine too.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Keep that to yourself, but do move on. Thank you. So yeah, just you know, experience what it's like, and it'll be a communal uh, time as well, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I know Colin's excited, so it's going to be great. And again, it's just for the month of April. Then at the end, me and Colin will do a special bonus episode, I
Yeah.
think, and we'll talk about it, and we'll try to do these. I think we're going to make this a recurring thing. I don't know how often, but maybe
I
every
think we said
skirmish season
quarterly.
or something.
Quarterly sounds like
Yeah.
a nice amount of time to not just make a ton more work for us. So we're shooting for quarterly. But you know what? We'll see. We'll see how it goes. If we have a lot of fun, we'll do it again.
Yeah, especially if y'all have a lot of fun and want to do it again. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. So appreciate you all getting involved. So with that, Colin, let us jump into the main topic, which is Outsiders pre-release. Yeah. Sting. Noises. Sound effects.
I'm ready.
Etc. How many pre-releases did you go to?
I went to one.
Nice. Same Z's.
I'm a busy man these days, and that's all I could get to.
Yeah, I agree. I maybe had the opportunity to travel. I definitely did have the opportunity to travel. But as it was coming down the pipe, the availability at pre-releases seemed dicey. So I just went with one, our local one, and that was fine.
Yeah.
It was totally fine.
I feel you. Yeah, I did the one. I maybe could have done two, but I had D&D on Saturday, and
yeah,
I'm just working real hard to get out of the abyss, and out of the Underdark. So that's important. I show up to those.
The Underdark, sidebar, is a very scary place, and it's really intense.
It's very much like the pits. It's just everything's trying to kill you. It's always dark and bad. And I'm sure there's mushrooms there everywhere. Like, it's that dank mushroom vibe. Anyways. So I think also I only played sealed. I believe you did too, right? You didn't draft yet?
Totally.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
So we're going to talk about this. We only played sealed. They didn't end up doing draft. I also didn't do well enough to make the top 8 draft. So is what it is.
Did they do a top 8 draft at your store, or did they just do the rounds of Swiss and that was it?
They just did rounds of Swiss because we had a undefeated person, and it actually took a long time. So I think we were just not gonna do another 3 hours. And we saved the boxes to do draft at Armories for the next month or so.
Cool.
So it's gonna be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did one. Ours is really small, but we did a dealio where we did, because we only had 6 people show up, which is kind of annoying. We had definitely more people that said they were going to show up. I think we were going to have like upwards of 10, which would have been big for us. But 6 showed up, which was fine. But we had a good time. But so what we did was, we did our 3 rounds with our first pool, and then we got to do an extra little sealed bit, an extra round with another pool. So I got to actually open 2 pools of cards in my one evening, which was pretty rad. I enjoyed seeing the contrast between 2 different card pools. So I'm not even sure really where to begin, but maybe let's start technical. So like the pack layout is really weird
Hmm.
and is hard to kind of get used to. So what I kind of noticed, and we have a bit of a confusing graphic here. Shout out to Yichin. It's not that confusing. It's a good graphic. But so you get 2 to 3 class commons, it looked like, and then you get 5 generic commons, roughly, and or 6 generic commons, something like that, or you get 3 to 4. You get 9 commons in the front. And the first couple are class cards, and then it's generics. And then you get into your hybrid slash rare slash more than rare slash foil equipment, etc. But the weird part was that I opened more than one pack with 3 non-foil rares in it.
Hmm. That is weird. Well, I
Yeah,
guess because the hybrids can be rare or not, right?
I suppose so. But yeah, I guess so. The hybrid can just be anything. So maybe that's what it is that I wish I could look at those again and know what those packs are. We'll know pretty soon. Um, but I suppose, yeah, the hybrid could be a rare, but not a majestic,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Like Death Touch is a rare, but then like Virulent Touch is a common.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think that's probably what happened. That's cool though. I didn't pay attention enough to that because I was hoping for like something dope, like any majestic. I only got one majestic, but
Mm,
um, yeah, it's it's interesting, and I think it's going to be uh, very interesting in draft. I'm
yeah.
I'm excited to try it. I think it's beyond my brain capabilities to project, you know, the calculations and knowing everything. I'm more of like a feel it out and get used to it kind of person, even if I'm just looking at the numbers. But
Hmm.
uh, it is really interesting. I thought opening packs, uh, for one, it was really nice to see some generics, just like
Hmm.
here's some good cards that
Hmm.
you know you can do whatever with. Um, and then from there, the hybrid cards were interesting just because it was like, you know, depending on how you shuffle through your cards, you don't see one or the other border. So, you know, when you're just learning all the
Yeah.
cards, you're like, oh shit, this is actually hybrid. I could run this in both things. So
Right.
I thought there was a lot of interesting choices that could be made immediately, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree. The I thought it was going to be harder to sort and figure out the information, but it really wasn't because the number of hybrid cards you get is low enough. You know what I mean? So like I definitely had more than 6, I think, every time, because some of them could be foil or like the rare ones or whatever. So I had somewhere around like, 8 to 10. And so it was like a lot easier to sort than I thought it was going to be.
Mm,
So that was a little bit better that was relieving to me to know that like to get the pools of cards together was more simple than I had anticipated.
mm. Yeah, I'm also kind of I was like a little surprised opening the packs, just like maybe I just said this too, but just like the number of possibilities you have
Yeah.
looking at this, because you have these pools, which normally you're like, okay, so I've got these ranger cards. So how do they work with my one ranger hero? And now you're like, wait, how does this work with my 2 ranger heroes who play
Right.
very
Right.
differently and are thinking about different things and care more or less about the generic or hybrid cards? And so you're having to analyze the same pool for 6 different possible heroes, which was a lot. I'm
Hmm.
gonna say it was just a lot, and it was cool. And I think I just got real overwhelmed and was like, well, fuck it. I got a lot of stealth cards, so we're going with Arachne because he has go again.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I think that was just like, I mean, I'm sure I'd thought about it before, but just being presented with that much information and trying to analyze the pool in different ways. Cause normally it's like, okay, my class cards and my, generics, and I split them by
Mm-hmm.
color and I look at them and you're like, okay, like, do I have like the resources? Do I have this? But with this, you really have to like, I don't know, it feels like you have to understand what the heroes are trying to do at a higher level to really build a better pool from that, or a deck from that pool.
Yeah, totally. I think also what I looked at was also how my generic pool supported me. So to now kind of get into the nitty gritties, in my second pool was a great, I think, uh, lesson of this. So like I opened fairly good ranger cards. Like I think I had 5 or 6 like red arrows. And some of them were pretty good. Like I think I had a couple withering shots and like some widow makers and stuff, but I only had one like lace with frailty in my pool of ranger cards, and then I did not have I think I only had like 1 or 2 blue come to fights, so no other pumps. So, and then no traps. So I was like, well, Arachne feels really off the table. I mean, excuse me, Riptide feels really off the table. So does Azalea, even though I have these pretty good arrows. But then I wound up with some really good red 2-for-6 cards and kind of enough little blue go again attacks for ninja, so that I wound up running Benji and kind of had this sweet kind of mid-range value Benji deck where I would get in basically a free 1 to 2 points of damage and then come in with a 2-for-7 with Benji's second ability. And most of the time I was like 3-card tenning. So it's like pitch 1 card to Gadachi, free attack for 2, and then that hits. So then I have the 2 resources for the 2-for-7 attack, and that felt really strong. And I didn't go assassin in that pool because I had only two reactions, and one of them was like a blue Razor's Edge, and the other one was a red Razor's Edge. And I think I only had like 9 stealth cards or something like that. So it just wasn't working out. So that was kind of like how I looked at that pool of cards and came to that decision. I still have those cards set aside, so I'm interested to re-look at it now that I've had a few days. And I'm going to do that with my original pool of cards as well. But
what'd you play with the original pool?
So the original pool, I opened a shakedown. Ooh. And kind of quite a bit of stealth cards in a variety of colors. And I had some other like pretty good assassin ranger cards like virulent touch red and death touch red. And I kind of had more of the not necessarily like the 2-for-6s. I had some of those. Like I had a humble, and I think I had a couple spring loadeds red or spring attack. What's the one with the snake on it?
I think spring load.
And I had a couple of those in red. So I went Azuri in my first pool and kind of just ran like 37 cards and just freaking went for it.
Nice.
Just sent it.
Shakedown seems really good in limited. Every time it happened to me, it was like they're just like, okay, red, and then there's like, cool, there goes the power card I was saving.
Totally.
So that one that one seemed real good. Apparently, multiple people I played drew, got it in their pool. So yeah, yeah, I think it was really cool looking at the pools and trying to understand who it was good for.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had a lot of stealth, but I didn't have a lot of reactions. Um, and I didn't have a ton of like the good red generic, like 2 for 6s. So Uzuri, I feel like I might have been able to do an Uzuri deck, but it just felt like not great. So, um, and then I was just kind of overwhelmed with the possibilities. So I decided to go Arachne and just try to go again and attack multiple times. And, it took me a couple rounds to get like into that, a good like play pattern of it. Just making sure like coming in with an arsenal, being able to like go like 3 or 4 wide was just like way better. And it just took me too long to really uh, get into that because I kept getting just Uzuri'd in my first round. Oh, also I had 2 short and sharps, which I read incorrectly and didn't have a target attack action card with 2 or less base power. So when I took a bunch of damage to do a bunch of damage back, the card was dead in my hand and I was pissed. But yeah, it was, but I also I had like a good amount, or not good. I was like 5 or 6 red arrows, but they seemed like good red arrows. I didn't have a Widowmaker. I did have the Falcon Wing. Is that what it's called? Falcon Shot, something like
Yeah.
that. That was like the only go again. And I had like 4 traps. So I was like, maybe I could do Riptide, but I just wasn't able to, just analyze it correctly yet. So, like I said, it was just like too complicated. So I was just like, screw it. And we're going easy mode, just trying to do go again. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think Death Touch is just a crazy card.
Oh, totally.
I think in Uzuri and Riptide, it's just like easier to get off. But once I kind of got used to making sure I got in an arsenal and stuff, it was totally cool. And the common equipment was really interesting, I thought.
Yeah.
Like, what was I had? I had the Threadbare Tunic, where you can break it and gain a resource only if you have no cards in hand, which took me like 2 rounds to like get that in my head so that I would like do it correctly so I could crack it and then come in with like a 2 cost attack at the end of the chain, which was just like super dope when you can pull that off. And then like I had the Mask of Malicious Manifestations.
Oh, sick.
Which was really cool. I mean, it blocks, which is great. But then when you just like, maybe I'll get a better attack, and you just kind of like go for it.
Yeah.
Or if like you have not enough attacks and too many resources, it was a great thing. I also had Blade Cuff, but I never really had enough resources, and it doesn't seem as good in Assassin to pay 2 to then pay 2 and pay 2 to get +2 on your dagger attacks. But I think if I ever had like a full blue hand with like a good attack to follow it up with, it would have been great. It just never worked out that way.
Totally. I had Blade Cuff in both of my pools, and I was having a hard time evaluating, like, is the 2 points of damage better than the 1 point of block? And I kind of just sat there and thought, like, well, if I have 2 blues and they're at like 4 health, then maybe that's when I use it, but that just never came up in any of my games. So I just used it for the block. And that's what I really liked the most about the equipment is blocking equipment with a ability also on it that you can utilize. And that was super sweet, I thought. But anyway, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, no, the equipment was really interesting. I thought I had like, what else did I have? Fleetwood sandals, Fleetfoot sandals, which kind of suck. But that's what I had for feet, so I ran them. Couple other things. I would shout out as like just seemed great in limited. Ravenous Rabble, just a good fucking card. You
Yeah.
know, free go again is great. If I had a yellow and a red. If I had one more of those, I think my deck would have been like significantly better.
Right.
Uh, looking for a scrap, I think is a dope card.
Mm-hmm.
This is the rare, cost one. I think it attacks. Is it in red too? Or is it just yellow? It must be in red too.
Yeah, it comes in all three.
Yeah, so one for 4. I had it in yellow, so it was like 1 for 3. But then, as an additional cost to play, you can banish a card with 1 power from your graveyard. When you do, it gets +1 and go again. So it became
Yeah.
a breakpoint and would get go again. And I just once I realized that I would like whenever I saw a 1 power card, I just needed to block with it to get it in my graveyard because I didn't have that many because they're not great. I guess, the blue assassin cards, but just block with it. And then you're like, this is on. Whenever I get this in hand, I'm going to have like a way better turn because you
Yeah.
can just banish it. So I thought that was really dope. And then the last one was Scout the Periphery, which isn't great in Arachne because I kept reading it. I kept forgetting the line that was like, the next attack action card you play from Arsenal this turn gets +3. And so I was like, oh, I'll save this card and Arsenal it. And then I'd read it and be like, well, I can't Arsenal this card. So once I like learned how the card worked, it was just like, I would be like, okay, I don't have an Arsenal right now, so I'm going to pitch it. And then when I'd get it later, it would just be like an insanely better turn. Obviously better in Riptide because he can just load it with his ability, put another attack into his arsenal just by, playing a trap or whatever. And I thought it was really good when I got it off, but it was an interesting card. And then the last thing I'm going to mention was the Freewheeling Renegades. I think is the worst card I've ever played because it was like 1 for 6 and then -2 if they defended by an action card. So if it's -2 and they defend with an action card for 3, it's coming in for 1, and you're just like, this is terrible. Like, I guess if you can end your turn with it and they've already blocked with everything, it's super punishing, but it just didn't seem like that was likely to happen. And I took it out of my deck really fast.
Yeah, I at first thought, oh, maybe this card's good if they're like trying to hold on to like a 4-card hand, like hold all their cards and then they're like, ooh, I got to take 6 or I can block and take less. Was maybe what I thought it was for. But yeah, I agree with you on all of those cards are super good. And I think one of my biggest takeaways is just how good the generics are. Like, like obviously what makes them so good is how well they are designed, is what I'm trying to say. They're super well designed. They're really flexible and have this little bit of nuance to all of them that you can learn to just make them a bit more efficient, which is, I think, really cool. The only one I did not particularly like that I had in both of my pools and was having a hard time figuring out if I liked it or not was Destructive Deliberation. When it hits a hero, creates a ponder token, but it's a 2 for 5. And it just feels like it should block for 3, but then it doesn't. So even though it makes a ponder, I just had a hard time wanting to run that over the other stuff. But that being said, the times when I did have a ponder token at the end of a turn were super good. Like my turn just felt so much better when I would get a card back just to Arsenal. So maybe it is kind of maybe more worth it in that regard.
I mean, for me, I didn't have a lot of choices. That was one of the only red generics I had. So I was like, well, I got to run it.
Right.
And Ponder, I think, was undervalued by my opponents. They were just like, sure, you can get that. And you're like, great, I get to play all my cards and then get a card to Arsenal, which, for me is like, as long as it is a stealth card. I don't care what color it is.
Right.
Um, so I thought it was good, but I know what you mean. It's a little bit weaker, but the balance on them, it's so cool. I think that there's just so many of these like 2 for 6 cards. They block for 2. They have interesting hit effects, and because so much of the card pool blocks for 2 as well, like they all become kind of serious cards
Yeah.
that your opponent has to work with. It sucks when Uzuri just like smacks you with it for free, but you know, that's a whole other thing.
Totally. There's a lot of like really cool extra little bits of nuance. So like Fleetwood sandals, yeah, maybe not great, but what was really cool.
Did you say Fleetwood sandals? We're just gonna make this catch on.
Damn it. Fleet foot sandals was that you can kind of bait your opponent into not blocking your blue sneak attack
Mm-hmm.
and then sandals it, and then it comes in for 5 and has go again, you know, which is super sick. So like little things like that you can do with the equipment. What I think I was a little low in our set review on Peace of Mind, and that card is
Mm-hmm.
much, much better than I thought it was going to be, especially if you have any of the Seeker's equipment. So being able to efficiently pitch a blue
Mm.
and get upwards of 5 block plus an opt out of your equipment was super, super awesome. That was one of the things that made my Benji deck really good. Was I had this sideboard of and I just absolutely destroyed Patrick. Sorry, Patrick, because I wound up with 3 Seekers pieces of equipment with 3 different Peace of Minds. So I just
Mm.
had basically 3 turns where I could just get a ton of value out of blocking and then still come back with kind of relevant damage at him. And he was playing Azalea is kind of when I decided to bring in that sideboard of stuff. So that was crucial.
Nice. Yeah, Peace of Mind seems really good. I think I had a little too few blues in my deck, so it made it a little hard. So I ended up doing it against it, like Azuri and I think mostly just assassins because I was afraid of like the reaction. Um, Otherwise, I took it out because it was a little hard to play. But I can see that with the Seeker's gear, that's way better because
Yeah.
usually mine would just hang. Um, the extra resource would hang, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's probably a few more of these like little efficiency plays you can get out of these cards, and understanding like, oh, I have these synergistic pieces, so now I have this, which I can slot into this deck, or it just
Mm-hmm.
makes X deck a little bit better, etc.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did really notice in my pool of cards was my ninja cards were hella whack.
Yeah.
Like Katsu seemed impossible in sealed out of the 12 packs I opened. Like I had equal copies of Descendant Gustwave and Bonds in my Benji pool, but then I also had equal copies of Head Jab and 1-2 Punch, and then I had like Back Heel Kick with no which I had 6 copies of and no Twin Twisters or whatever the frick that card is called, you
Yeah.
know. And then in my first pool, I had none of that stuff. And I had a bunch of deadly duos. I had like 6 of them and 1-2 punches, but no head jabs. And I also had back heel kicks, but no twin twisters. So it was
Yep.
like a totally dead pool, basically. You
Yeah.
know, I guess Deadly Duo was like maybe okay, but then like into 1-2 punch, it like doesn't do a ton, you know. I guess maybe buffs those, but and I had no Be Like Waters
Yeah.
or anything like that. So it just didn't feel like it was going anywhere.
Yeah. Ninja was my smallest card pool. So that was just like immediately, okay, I don't want to do this because it wasn't going to work. And then on top of that, just I think there's just going to be a bigger learning curve for Ninja in limited in this set, just because you really need to know what cards you need to make the combos work, because you have these cards that change the name of cards,
Right.
and but you need other cards to enact the combo on other cards. Is just like a lot of things to hold in your brain, so being able to analyze that really quickly I think is pretty difficult. And I think some people will figure it out. But I heard the same thing at my pre-release. It was just like there was not enough ninja cards in the pool to even consider doing it, and the only ninjas I saw were Benji players because I think they had just enough low-powered cards with a mixture of some like good, stronger cards to like do what Benji wants to do, which is like go again, unblockable damage, and like bigger hits. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
That seems on like initial impressions like that Benji might be the easier one, but I'm very curious to see if in draft you're able to really
Yeah.
find your way to a good Katsu deck.
Yeah. I think so.
So we'll see.
And it's not like the Ninja Assassin cards, the hybrid cards, are like crazy helpful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, other than Hurl, which should go in every Ninja and every Assassin deck, like that's your win condition. Like in my Azuri deck, like I just pitch stacked both of them next to each other. I had two, just like a blue and a yellow. It didn't matter. And then just like you draw them, they're at 2 health, and you save you keep your life total high enough. Boom, they're dead. 2 free damage, done. And I was doing picking up my spider's bite and flicking it at my opponent when I activated Hurl, which got kind of mixed reviews, but I thought it was super funny.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then like Bleed Out seemed a little bit. I did have one red one, which it did work out in the game I played it, where I gambled and I'm like, I don't think they're going to block both of my Kodachis. And then I got to go go again, which was
Nice.
super dope. But I don't know if that doesn't really help out either ninja really. And then Plunge or short and sharp maybe is the best one for ninja, but Plunge also doesn't really help you a ton either, it feels like. So I don't know. It's hard to get the little extra help you need, out of your card pools.
Yeah, for sure. I think it will be an interesting development. I mean, obviously, like the generics, Ravenous Rabble, Seek Horizon, I think can work pretty well.
Looking for scrap too, I suppose.
Yeah, looking for scrap. At least helping you do your go wide game plan. But yeah, otherwise it really feels like, unless you just have like printed on a lot of go again cards, it's gonna be harder. If you have too many combo cards with combo on them, but you don't have the combo requirements, like you're immediately just kind of blocked out of the class, which is unfortunate, because I think it could be really fun. And like I said, I'm excited to see if that, people find their way to building a cool deck. And at the same time, I'm not mad about it because we've had to deal with 5 for so long that I'm tired of ninjas being so good. So it's unfortunate that like Katsu yet again has to like, not be as cool as he could be. But I think I have some confidence that in draft there will be a bit more opportunity there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm really excited for draft. I think it's just gonna like to increase the power level basically, and the consistency with all these heroes is just gonna be so sick in this format. And I guess my last little point about Ninja is, and I could be wrong too, it's still very early, but you have a few more hoops you have to jump through. You know what I mean? So like you need combo cards, you need cards with go again, but you also need zero costed blues to
Mm-hmm.
really make that deck sing. And
Mm-hmm.
so like if you can't get those and your blues like cost 1 or 2 or whatever, then like it's hard to get your Kadachis going, which is like a huge part of what that deck does, is that 2 chip damage every single turn. So compared to like Assassin, where like Arachne, you just need any attacks basically, and some number of them to be stealth attacks,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Azuri also just needs stealth attacks and like pretty good cards to cheat in. You know what I mean? And so that it also makes it easier for you to day one analyze those pools of cards and figure out those play patterns within the like allotted time to deck build with the cards at a pre-release. So
Mm-hmm.
I hope to see that this format sealed. This is the first time I'm really excited about sealed evolve. I want to see it evolve and see what how we can flex this different type of skill than it is in draft.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping I get to play some just like sealed with buds and
Totally.
just open some packs and have a good time, because that's just really fun and
Mm-hmm.
a little bit less energy to do than drafting. But I'm also excited about the draft experience. So I'm sure we'll come back with some thoughts on that as well. Um, I was curious if you felt
Mm-hmm.
like there was a breakout hero.
I think, I mean, a lot of people played just at mine Azuri and Arachne.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the Rangers seemed underwhelming, but mainly I think because Ranger takes a bit of getting used to because the play pattern's super different.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like people were more hung up on like, oh well, obviously I keep all 4 cards in my arsenal, like that's really good, and then just kind of struggling to play out all of your cards,
Yeah.
um and that sort of thing. I was surprised, just this is my opinion, how kind of much more powerful ASC was than I maybe had expected. I thought it was going to be pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
but just the go again on a stealth attack is like spider's bite, stealth attack with go again into who knows what,
Mm-hmm.
with resources floating was like such a mind game, and it just was really good. So
Yep.
I think ASC was maybe my kind of standout hero for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of got the same feeling that Arachne felt pretty just immediately strong. It's kind of that red deck win situation where it's just straight ahead game plan. You know what you're trying to do. You're trying to attack multiple times. If you have the right cards to do that enough, you're gonna, you're just gonna pressure your opponent a lot more than they're gonna be able to do to you. So I thought just immediately, I think he's going to be a breakout. I feel like, I don't know, just looking at our, Discord at who won. Let's say we
Mm-hmm.
had one Arachne, 2 Riptides, Azalea, and Azuri. And like the Riptides and Azalea are people who are not strangers to Stranger
Mm-hmm.
Ranger. Can't spell stranger without Ranger.
That's
Um,
true.
and so I think they just, like you said, they understand the play pattern a little bit more. And I think if you can wrap your head around that, I think they're actually going to be very good if you have, again, the card pool to support what they're trying to do. Um, so I am curious to see how this develops. I'm really excited to see some, high level limited play at the Pro Tour coming up this year. So, um, it's going to be cool to see how it evolves. I feel like there's potential in this set to really get that kind of multi-step evolution of
Yeah.
towards the best archetypes in the format. So it's going to be really exciting.
It is. I've never been more excited for a limited set than this one in particular. Like, these will be my last couple of points here, but just the gameplay was super good, super interactive, very back and forth. Everything felt designed really tightly. You know, I didn't feel like there was kind of like, I don't know how to say it, like there wasn't like a ragamuffins. You know what I mean? Just like, we need an extra piece of equipment in here and this has an ability on it. Let's put it in there. Right. And then the last thing was the token diseases were much more powerful than I had anticipated. Like, I knew blood rot was going to be great, but just inertia and even frailty were impactful for every hero. Having any token was definitely a changer in tempo or whatever. You know, they were more and more impactful than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I must have misread frailty leading up to it because I did not pay attention that it was weapon attacks as well. So
yeah,
you're just like, cool, I'm gonna spiders bite, stealth go again, do this other go again, and come in for 2. And it was just like, shit, I can't spiders bite because they attack for 1.
Yeah, totally.
And it was just like, okay, that is pretty good. The inertia I actually never had. I think the only time I got one, I was just going to play out all my cards anyways. So I think that one might be a little bit more situational, probably more. I mean, I think, but it can be very impactful. And then Blood Rot Pox like killed me round 1. I've got Uzuri'd, Virulent Touched. He swaps that in, gives me Blood Rot Pox, and I was just like, that seems not fair. I just get this, and then I die because I blocked with all my cards to survive, and then I didn't take any damage, but then I got Blood Rot Pox, and I took 2 damage on my turn, and that was game over. So that is very strong, but it did feel super back and forth. Like, it felt right. And I, as you were talking about this, 2 thoughts came to mind. One, first set in a long time with no arcane damage.
Right.
2, first set in a long time with no talents.
Right.
It just felt like straight ahead fab. Like, we're trying to outvalue each other.
Yeah.
The cards are a little underpowered, can't block super well, so you have to leak some damage. So understanding where you can do that without leaking too much and kind of making those calculations felt really good. And I could feel myself over the night, like understanding a little bit better how to do that. So I agree. I think this seems like it's just going to be a really fantastic set. There's none of that like, well, this just feels dumb and unfair kind of like ball lightning, fi whatever. And I think it's going to be good. I'm sure someone's going to find something busted that, ruins people's times every now and then. But I don't know. For the most part, everything seems very like somehow like I don't see a lot of power creep.
Yeah.
Like in the limited format. I'm sure some of these cards will eventually find their ways into like busted combo interactions, but that's to be figured out in CC, and that's another bag. But for like the limited format, I think this feels like really, really tight.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end the main topic and move ourselves into our signature segments. That's right. Pick, Pass, Pray is back in effect. We got a new draft set, so we're going to christen this outsiders ship off here. So Pick Pass Pray is a hypothetical draft scenario where I'm going to give you 3 cards, Colin, and you're going to pick one, pass one, and pray one comes back around. Are you ready?
Born ready.
Hell yeah. Okay. So our first card up is Red Hijab. It's a ninja attack action. It pitches for 1, costs 0, defends for 2, and attacks for 3, and it has go again.
Boom.
Our
Easy.
our second card is Spring Load, generic attack action, red. So it pitches for 1, costs 1, defends for 2, attacks for 2, and reads. When this attacks, if you have no cards in hand, it gains +3. Our third and final card is Mask of Shifting Perspectives. It is an assassin ninja equipment head, defense for 1, but it has blade break. So when the combat chain closes, it's destroyed. And it has an attack reaction. Destroy Mask of Shifting Perspectives. Whenever a dagger hits this turn, you may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw a card. So, Colin, which one are you going to pick, pass, and pray comes back around?
This one's tricky. I feel like Spring Load seems pretty good, but the conditional requirement to get to a 1 for 5 is a little rough. But you can definitely craft your hand to get there, I think, without too much trouble. But in the case where you don't, or you somehow mess up your mental math, it's pretty bad. But let's see, head jab. I mean, head jab's just like solid. It's like a big combo piece. It costs 0, has go again printed on it, simple. So that also seems pretty good. And then there's this mask, man. I'm like looking at this and I don't know. Like, the part of me is just like, well, it blocks for 1. So maybe just pick that and it goes into 2 classes. So like that in itself could be enough because there's not all the equipment blocks. There's a lot of equipment in this set too.
Yeah.
So that is all right. I think I'm going to pick the mask. Blocks for 1, leaves us a little open. And it has like a pretty good ability. I don't honestly know how great it is. It's hard to judge. But I guess you could fix your hand if you've got extra resources and not enough power in your hand to do what you want. But also maybe it just blocks for 1, and that's good. I'm going to pass on head jab because if Benji's the easy ninja to build, then 3 doesn't even help out. Well, I guess it would be fine. All right, I'm going to say pass on head jab. Oh, do I want to pass on head jab? No. I'm switching it up. I'm going to pass on spring load.
Okay.
I don't like this conditional thing. It's going to make me work too hard to get a 1 for 5, which is only slightly better than most other cards that it will just have, 2 for 6 printed on it or something.
Right.
So pass on that and pray head jab comes back, because if Ninja's wide open and I got this cool mask and a powerful combo piece, then maybe I feel pretty good about Ninja.
Nice.
We got there. I don't know if that was right, but we got there. Let's see what you say, and then we'll know if it's right.
Well, I honestly am having a hard time. It's the mask, right, that throws you off. Like, how valuable is this piece of equipment going to be? Mm-hmm. Is it better than if I'm in whatever it's called, assassin? Is shifting perspectives better than the manifestations. I'm unsure. I think manifestations is maybe better, but it's hard to know. So, and then you also kind of compete with the Ranger headpiece. So if I do wind up going Ranger, now I've picked a headpiece when maybe I want a better headpiece. So it's hard to evaluate, and it does block for one, which is really good. So that's the one that throws me for a loop. But I think I'm going to pick Spring Load because that leaves me the most open to figure out what to do. And then I am going to pray that Head Jab comes around because it's a combo starter. It's also in red, and it is just a really good necessary card that I would like to have multiple of. So that's why I'm going with that. And I'm going to pass on the mask because I think we're going to get, if we're going to pick equipment, we're going to pick something maybe slightly better, maybe like a threadbare tunic or something like that. But I could see myself, first picking any one of these three, really. But so that was kind of Spring Load, pick, pass, mask, pray, Head Jab. And I think it's a good exercise in figuring out what you value more. And I think staying open is maybe the way to go here in this set. So there you have it.
I value my life.
You do.
I don't want to die.
You do indeed. Sweet. So I'll post these in the Discord for discussion later, and we'll figure out what everybody else wants to do here.
Nice.
And yeah,
get ready, pick, pass, pray for the next 4 months.
Yeah, it's going to be there.
I'm excited to see how our opinions change.
Me too.
Cool. I'm so excited for this set, man.
Me as well. Particularly draft and sealed. Like, I don't even want to think about constructed right now. I just want to play limited, basically, and learn everything I can.
Except for ASC Blitz.
That's true. Way to bring it back around. And it's the we build, you build. Don't forget, everybody, we're playing Arachne Solitary Confinement, and we're going to talk about it and see how it goes for the whole month of April. You can play it at your armories, skirmishes, kitchen table, Talishar, by yourself on felt table, with your dog.
With the
However you want to play it.
Yeah,
freaking do it. Obviously on felt table would be the most apt solitary confinement experience. So, go with that one. You didn't see Colin was just shooting finger guns into the air in celebration of that little quip I had. So thanks, buddy.
Hell yeah. It was worth it. And that's it. Thank you for listening to the Attack Action Podcast. It was a pleasure to be here with you, Taylor. Isaac, I hope you feel better. Yeah. I know what you're going through, since indeed I transferred this to you digitally through the reaction step recording. And, it'll get worse before it gets better, but it will get better.
Yeah. Prayers up to Isaac for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's the scary thing about plague is it's only transmitted digitally and in a reaction step. So since we did no reactions in this episode, I think I'm going to be safe and probably dodge this one.
Yeah. So unless you block my virulent touch, and then he's just effed.
Yeah. Then I'm super effed. But thank God, even though you have no shirt and no pants, you're still wearing underwear. So I won't have to block your virulent touch down there. So Colin, big thank you to you. Thank you for stepping up on this late night and making this excellent episode of this podcast possible. I appreciate that very much.
Always a pleasure, man.
Sweet.
See y'all next time.
Yep. Great outro. Nailed it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Attack Action Podcast. On Twitter, we are at BattleBro Taylor and at BattleBro Isaac. Shoot us an email, theattackactionpodcast@gmail.com.
If you would like to support us, like and subscribe, shop for singles using our affiliate link, or support our Patreon for as little as $4 per month.